Hey everybody, how's it going? I hope you're having a lovely day. On this channel for the past 10 years, I've spent a lot of time discussing the concept of right to repair, the fact that you should be able to fix what you own. If you're not able to fix what you own, you don't really own it. The manufacturer owns it, and I don't think that's right. And over the past 3 years, I focused a lot more on other things other than just what I fix, because for the most part, this channel really focused on Apple motherboard repair, Apple product repair, and as time went on, I realized this is not just an Apple issue. This is way, way bigger than just a laptop motherboard thing. And I started covering automotive right to repair. I want to go over a brief history of it before I go over what's going on right now and why it is I desperately need your help. So, over the past 10 years, a lot has happened. In 2012, an automotive right to repair law passed in Massachusetts, and all the automotive manufacturers reached an understanding because they don't want to deal with different laws in different states, so they just decided, TLDR, we're not going to be dicks, and we're going to make repair information available. The problem is that 2012 law had a loophole in it that carved out an exemption out for wireless systems. And as more cars have computers in them nowadays, more cars are transmitting their data wirelessly. This means that if cars start transmitting diagnostic and repair information wirelessly, that your shop down the street is not going to be able to have access to that in the same way that they did before. As a result of that loophole, in 2020, this got put in the ballot on Massachusetts. Question 1, a right to repair law, a vehicle data access requirement initiative. A yes vote supports requiring manufacturers that sell vehicles with telematic systems in Massachusetts to equip them with a standardized open data platform beginning with the model year 2022 that vehicle owners and independent repair facilities may access to retrieve mechanical data and run diagnostics through. AKA, you bought this car for $40,000. You have access to the data that it's producing. Your car, your computer, your data. And not surprisingly, most people in Massachusetts said, yes, we would like the ability to fix our own cars. And this won in a landslide, in spite of a lot of the garbage that the automotive manufacturers tried to pull. And they pulled a lot of it. They accused the people who want right to repair of racism and redlining, and they even implied that you would be raped in a parking lot. Here is some of the garbage that they were playing.
Data stored in your vehicle.
Forgot to turn the scary music on. Sorry.
Domestic violence advocates say a sexual predator could use the data to stalk their victims.
You get the idea. They were full of shit. And in spite of all the garbage that they spent $25 million piling on, the right to repair side won in a landslide. Now, after this won, the automotive manufacturers were going to give customers access to the data produced in their vehicle, right? Right? Wrong. That's not what they do. What they did was they decided to try their best to take this to court and have this overridden entirely. Car manufacturers sued to undo this right to repair law, and I'll leave a link to all these videos and citations down below for anybody who is interested in actually reading through them all, because some of you actually are interested in reading through all this stuff, and I will include the link for each one down here. They sued to try to undo this, and it was still blocked 18 months after the vote. Due to the fact that there was support at the federal level and the fact that this was going through the court system, I actually thought that maybe this would mean that there was a positive result. And I was very, very wrong. A judge denied the automakers a right to repair injunction. They said, you kind of have to start obeying this law. And right at the time that this happened, somebody from NHTSA destroyed right to repair entirely. They went behind the backs of the judge to the car manufacturers and told the car manufacturers, ignore this law. It's unsafe. It's preempted by federal law. Forget about it. The judge in this case, for 2 years, was asking NHTSA, begging NHTSA for input on this case as to whether or not this law was preempted by federal law. They heard nothing. The moment that the judge says yes to right to repair, that's when NHTSA decides to come out and make a complete ass of themselves and claim that this is unsafe, that if something like this were to pass, then the driver safety systems and the car could accelerate and all this other crap. And I go over it in this video, and I also go over it over here. And again, I will link these down below. This here is Tommy Hickey. He is the head of the Right to Repair Coalition. He is the one that is responsible for this ballot initiative passing in Massachusetts 3 years ago. And he explains very, very clearly in this video why this is a complete and utter screw job. So right now, there's nothing. The auto manufacturers are not complying with this at all. However, there is a saving grace here. There is something that is actually happening at the federal level so that the states don't have to fight this out for consumer protection amongst themselves. House Resolution 906, the Repair Act. I wanted to read a little bit of this and then also go over a little of the BS propaganda against it. So House Resolution 906, this is to ensure that consumers have access to data relating to their motor vehicles, critical repair information and tools, and to provide them choices for the maintenance, service, and repair of their motor vehicles and for other purposes. I would like to read you the sections that I think are the most relevant. I would like to then read the propaganda against it. I would like to explain why the propaganda against it is garbage. And then, above all, I'm going to ask for your help because I want to live in a future where you actually own what you bought and paid for, and you have the ability to fix what you bought and paid for. So, in this bill, House Resolution 906, the parts that I think are the most important are as follows. Prohibition on motor vehicle manufacturers' withholding of data, critical repair information, and tools. A motor vehicle manufacturer shall not employ any technological barrier or specified legal barrier that impairs the ability of a motor vehicle owner to access vehicle-generated data pursuant to subparagraphs A and B. AKA, the vehicle manufacturer cannot go out of their way to do some bullshit to make it more difficult for you to be able to fix your car. The requirement to provide motor vehicle data to owners. A motor vehicle manufacturer shall, effective on the enactment of this act, provide for motor vehicle owners or their designees without restrictions or limitations, including a license fee or requiring use of a device mandated by the motor vehicle manufacturer to have access to vehicle-generated data. I repeat, a motor vehicle manufacturer shall, on the date of this agreement, without restrictions or limitation, allow you to have access to vehicle-generated data with no limitations. That means no fee, no license, or requiring the use of a device mandated by the motor vehicle manufacturer. This bars the automotive manufacturer from being able to charge you a subscription fee, something that I just know is music to the ears of anybody who watches this channel, for the ability to access the data that is already in their vehicle. Because the agreement that they signed, the memorandum of understanding, which is not worth the paper it was written on 10 years ago, would allow them to weasel out of this. So over here, you have the automotive manufacturer, and they are releasing a press release. This is from July 11, 2023, very, very recent, and I want to go over what's written in here and why it is garbage. Because what you see in here, it's designed to sound reasonable to people so that you think, wait, why do these people need a law? What are they talking about? We don't need a law. We're already doing all this. When in reality, that's not the case. This is very, very cagey in its language, and I want to point out why it's not sufficient. So in the automaker's BS, it says that independent repair facilities shall have access to the same diagnostic and repair info that auto manufacturers make available to authorized dealer networks. It doesn't tell you how that's going to be made available, though. The Coalition of Repairers and Automakers wrote, "This commitment was created with our mutual and valued customers in mind, vehicle owners. Highlights include access to diagnostic and repair information. Independent repair facilities shall continue to have access to the same diagnostic and repair information that auto manufacturers make available to authorized dealer networks. This applies to telematics data needed to diagnose and repair a vehicle if not otherwise available, all vehicle technologies and powertrains, and blah, blah, blah." This is very similar to Apple. On this channel, I'll very often talk about fixing Apple stuff, and Apple has an independent repair provider program where they claim they make available manuals and parts and things like that. They make available the manuals on like how to take the bottom cover off the computer. The actual schematic to the motherboard, which is what I need to do a properly economically viable repair, I can't get through that. They will make available the $600 motherboard, not the $5 chip that they tell Intersil and Texas Instruments to not sell to somebody like me. They make available the LCD assembly, not the LCD cell by itself. So much of what I actually need to do my job is not made available through that program, and I'm forced to sign a restrictive NDA. That program is set up and designed to make repair shops look unreasonable for not signing up to it, so that the average person who's reading Reddit or a news site looks at us and sees us as unreasonable bastards for not signing up for the manufacturer's repair program. And the same is true here. They're saying, look, we're making everything available already, so why do you need this law? This press release is trying to make the case that people like us that are in favor of HR 906 are stupid, are idiots. We're asking for stuff that they're already doing. And more importantly, this press release that came out just yesterday is addressed to a bunch of people in Congress. They are sending this to Ted Cruz, Jim Jordan, Dick Durbin, Lindsey Graham, and Gerald Nadler. They are trying to actually convince Congress that there is no need for right to repair. Let me explain why there is. There's two responses I would have there. The first is, if you are making all this available already, why would you object to the law? If I already give my employees 2 weeks of paid vacation every year, why would I object to a law that says that I need to give employees who have been here for longer than a year 2 weeks of vacation time each year? If I claim that I'm already doing it, if I tell you that I give every one of my employees 2 weeks of paid vacation time every year, why would I oppose a law that says that I need to give people 2 weeks of vacation time unless maybe I was lying and I wasn't actually providing that after all? I just wanted to look good while simultaneously not providing what I claimed I was providing. I have no objection to labor laws that say that you need to have 1 or 2 weeks of employee vacation, even if it's not paid, because I already provide all of my employees 2 weeks of paid vacation time every year, so that doesn't matter to me. The reason that this law is so offensive to the automakers is because this would actually require them to live up to the tenets of their own agreement, and they don't want to do that. Very similar to what happened with John Deere. I talked about this 6 months ago in this video, John Deere Memo. Farmers have not won, but that won't stop the news from pretending they did. In this video, I'm going over a John Deere Memorandum of Understanding. John Deere has had several memorandums of understanding. This is essentially where John Deere writes down on a piece of paper and says, we'll give you guys what you want, and it's not legally binding, so nobody can actually hold them to task for it. And nobody did hold them to task for it, and farmers got screwed. It's the same idea here. This agreement that they're referring to that was signed 10 years ago is flimsier than the paper it is written on. This agreement is non-binding. There is no way to force OEM participation or to enforce OEM compliance, as from AutoCare. 2, this agreement does not cover all automakers, like Tesla, and there is no requirement for new OEMs to join. This is an obvious way out of it for new automakers, and again, it's not legally binding. It's not the law. It doesn't matter. It is literally worthless. It is like if you go to a bar and you have somebody there that says, I only sleep with people that I'm in a committed relationship with, and the other person says, oh, I'll commit to you, and they go, oh, really? And they go home with them, and then they never hear from them again. There's literally nothing that is binding that person to their word on that night while they were horny, the same way there is nothing that is binding car manufacturers to listening to this agreement that they pulled out of their ass that is, again, not a law. 3, the agreement does not obligate OEMs to provide vehicle owners or aftermarkets direct access to telematically generated repair and maintenance data. Rather, the OEMs have agreed to make repair and maintenance data available through OEM-controlled systems and tools. Okay, big distinction. Direct access means I paid $40,000 for this car, I paid for the computer in that car, I want access to the information on my vehicle that I already paid for. I paid for that computer is producing information on behalf of me, I want the data that's in that computer. That is different from the automotive manufacturer saying, yes, you can have access to it through us, meaning that you pay them $100 a month or maybe $100 a week for access to that data. Under the agreement that they are talking about, they could charge an automotive technician $5,000 to $10,000 a year for access to telematics data for a particular set of vehicles. They're open to doing that. In the law, as I read the law, they're not allowed to do that. They are not allowed to put any restrictions or limitations, including fees, licenses, or acquiring a special device for you to get access to the data in your car. And there's the rub. Number 4, regarding telematics and the wireless transmission of vehicle maintenance data, the OEMs only agree to give access, again, not direct access, if the data is not otherwise available through the OBD2 port. This means an independent shop could be forced to subscribe to multiple third-party tools. That's the word that all the viewers of this channel just love hearing. Subscription fee is like music to your ears to get access to telematics data, rather than going through a single direct source. Again, if they were already doing this, they wouldn't be opposed to the law. The reason they're opposed to the law is because A, some of them probably are not planning to do this, and more importantly, B, they plan on charging you out the ass for it after you already paid for the car. This law would allow you to get access to the repair and diagnostic information for your vehicle, and it would also restrict them from putting any sort of roadblocks and barriers in place. It would restrict them from being able to charge you a bunch of extra money for access to some bullshit subscription, and you bet your ass in 2023, everything like this is going to have a subscription in order for you to be able to fix your car. If your independent mechanic has to pay $5,000 or $6,000 or $20,000 or $30,000 per year per brand to access this stuff, you bet your ass they're passing that cost onto you, the vehicle owner. And that sucks. And even if you aren't going to go to an independent mechanic, why shouldn't you have the option? Why shouldn't you have the option to access that vehicle? From a principal point of view, you paid for the vehicle. You paid for the computer in the vehicle. Why can't you access that computer in your vehicle like any other computer that you buy and pay for? This is, in my opinion, a good piece of legislation. Unfortunately, it's going through Congress. And as anybody who watched the social media hearings 3 years ago, we can get into that in a different video. Needless to say, sometimes Congress needs a little bit of help, a little bit of a direction to do the right thing, and that's what I'm asking of all of you. I am not asking you to like, I'm not asking you to subscribe, I'm not asking you to comment, and I'm not asking you to click some bullshit affiliate link for NordVPN or Raycons. What I will ask you to do is click this link down below to a page that makes it very easy to tell your Congress representative to pass the Repair Act. I'm asking you to email them, I'm asking you to call them, I'm asking you to show up in their office and demand a hearing with them so that you can talk to them, so that you can explain to them why this is important and understand whether or not they're going to vote on it. And if they're not going to vote on it, tell them that you're going to vote for somebody else. Because at this point in time, this has been going through the system for literally 10 years. This ballot initiative has been going through the system for 3 years. It finally gets positive feedback from a judge. After it gets positive feedback from a judge, somebody from NHTSA, who in my opinion is doing some corrupt shit, decides to come out and destroy it without any sort of participation in the court case or any of the judicial process. Like, it's time for a change. It's time for somebody to actually do something. And the cool thing is that people are actually doing things. This bill over here, as I said, this is bipartisan. You have people that are more left-wing that are agreeing with this. You have people that think that Trump won in 2020 that are co-sponsoring this legislation. For people from every side of the political aisle are coming together and saying, you know what? I don't like my neighbor's lawn sign. I don't like the way they talk, and I don't like the news that they listen to, and I don't like the way that they think. However, I want the ability to fix my own car. And I realize that it is beneficial if myself, as well as my enemy, also live in a world where we are able to fix and maintain our own motor vehicles. We are better off if we live in a world where we actually own what we buy and pay for. So even if I disagree with you on everything else, even if I disagree with you on what color the sky is, I will agree with you on this so that we retain our rights of ownership as a country. That is what I'm pushing for here. Help me out. Please help me out and make sure that your congressperson understands how important this is. Help us get the first piece of federal right to repair legislation passed. Not wheelchairs in Colorado, tractors in Colorado, electronics in Minnesota, this and this other state. Enough of this patchwork of states bullshit. Let's get an actual federal right to repair bill passed that encompasses every state in the United States of America. I think that would be best for everybody. Yeah, that's my ask. That's my ask, and I'm going to be shameless with it. I'm going to leave a link to this down below, and I'm going to leave a link to all the other videos that I talked about and cited here for anybody who's interested in following along this entire story. Thank you so much for taking the time, and as always, I hope you learned something.